try to do today is create this front end class for the database, and we want the ability to basically see the different things that are in the database, as well as have buttons to add another thing, remove something, edit one of the things that's already in there, search for a particular item, sort, and then save all the items. So we're going to just set that up today, and just so that you guys have an idea of the picture that we're looking for, it's on that first page, and it's going to look something like this picture right here, quiz database, where we have a list of things, and then we have buttons on the side that allow us to do those actions. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. So, like I said the other day, you can use this to take notes or however you want to do that. And eventually I'll post this. So, okie doke. So what we're going to do is we're going to create, let's make sure we're in the right place here. So we're in this database package. So I'm going to call this comic book database. And just to kind of stay with the same theme that we've been working with here, we're going to have this thing extend JFrame. So that's javax.swing.jframe. And if you don't know that, you can always browse and find the thing that you're looking for. So action listener, we want to do that. And this one we actually do want to have a main method. And as soon as we get done with this, we'll take the main method away from the dialog class because we want the database to create the dialog. We don't want to be able to create the dialog on its own. Okay? So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense for you. Okay, so you guys looked at the picture just a second ago. We want to have a list that's going to show up on the left, and then we're going to have a bunch of buttons that are going to show up on the right. So that's going to be a JList. Okay, and then we're going to have, like I said, a bunch of buttons. So there's a couple different ways that we could do this. As far as how the structure of this works, we could go ahead and say, you know, make individual buttons, and then each button, you know, gets processed by the action listener. We could make an array of buttons, and in that case, then, you know, it is like a different, just a different way of thinking about it. So, do you guys have any preference? We just do it the way that you're used to it, or what? All right. Okay. So what we're going to do is just go have an add button, and that says add on it. Or what did we say over here? Yeah, add. So that's going to be remove. Then we're going to be having edit. Then we're going to have search, sort, and save. Search, sort, and save. And then we're just going to remove, edit. And if we figure out that we want to do something else later, we can do that as well. Search. Okay. From the picture that I showed you guys a second ago, we're going to have something show up on the left that's its own thing, a group of things on the right, and so I'm looking at that like it's a grid layout, and then on the right we have another grid layout where we're going to put all the buttons so that they kind of take up the same amount of space as the thing on the left. You guys need to see the picture again?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, this is a 1-row, 2-column grid, And then on the right of that grid, so on the left is just the list. On the right is another grid of buttons. Does that make sense for everyone? All right. Okay, so then this is going to be the constructor, so comic book database is the name of that. And then we were going to go ahead and say super. So super just is a call to the JFrame constructor that just basically says set up the thing the way that you normally would. If you want, you can put in a title there. Okay, and that title will show up in the title bar, which is this bar up here. Okay, so the title of this thing is Java SL Computers blah 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 blah. Okay. All right, so similar to what we did a little bit ago, we're going to go ahead and set the layout of this thing, and we just said that we want this to have a grid layout, and that goes rows and columns, I believe. So 1 row, 2 columns. I'm sorry. I think I'm messing you guys up. So what we normally would do here is make a container. Get the content pane of the frame. So this is different from dialog. So we're going to get the content pane of the frame, and then do con.setLayout. Pardon me. And then what we're going to do is do con.add. And what we're trying to add to that is the comic list. And on the right-hand side of that, we want to have all of the buttons. So what do I need to do to add all those buttons into one spot of the container?
Put it to the right side?
I got to put it in the right, but you got to make a panel. Okay? So anytime that you want to add more than one thing to a particular spot inside of the a layout, you got to use a panel. So we saw that with the comic book dialog, and we said that we needed a panel for the date because it had 2 parts, the month combo box and the year text field. So this is sort of the same idea here. So we're going to make a J panel, and I'm going to just call it button P for button panel. And that's a panel. I'm a good typer. So that's going to be a grid layout as well. How many rows do I need in that grid layout?
2.
6 rows and 1 column, right? 1 row for each button.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so then like I said the other day, I just like to tab this in so I know what's going in the panel. Just makes it easier for me to read. So button p.add, and what I want to add is the add button. Button p.add. The next thing is the remove button. And I'm going to copy and paste this because I'm that lazy. 6 things here. So this is going to be the edit button. This is going to be the search button. This is going to be the sort button. And then obviously we have the save button. Okay, so now we have those 6 things in a panel. And just in case there's anybody who's confused, I guess I'll try to draw a picture here for you guys. Let's see if I can find what I'm looking for quick here. You don't want to work? Okay. Alright, apparently, oh, there it is. Okay. So, just so that you guys understand what's going on so far, what we've done right now is we've created a container, we've set the layout to be a grid layout, which is a 1x2 layout. So basically, once we give this thing some size, it's going to look something like that. 1 row, 2 columns. What I've done is now I've added a list and grid layouts just work left to right, top to bottom. So this is going to have the list in the left. Okay, so I don't know how you show that that's a list, but that's how I show that that's a list. Okay, the next thing that we've done is we've created this panel called button P, and we've made it so that it has a grid layout 6 by 1. Okay, so that's going to look something like this, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that's going to be 6 different locations, 6 rows that I can add stuff into, 1 column. And so what we need to do now is we need to say this panel should go in here. Okay, because we haven't done that yet. It doesn't automatically do it for us. All right, so I just wanted to make sure that we weren't confused about that, because what I still have to do is say take the container and add the button panel to it. Okay. There's some other things that we can do in here, but I guess for right now, what we want to do is make sure that this thing shows up, and we can you know, see that it works the way that we want it to work. So let's see, what do I need to do that? Well, we got to go this dot set visible true. This dot set default close operation. This is not absolutely necessary, but what it does is makes it so that when I hit this red X up here, the whole thing closes down. And we can talk about whether we really want that to happen or not later on.
Do we want it to happen?
Why wouldn't we? Is that what somebody said? Well, I guess the only thing that I would say is if you want to make sure that it gets saved before we do that, like when someone hits that red X, that everything saves, so you can't just close it and lose all your edits. You know what I mean? You might want to change this.
If you made the check loop rather than having a closed loop, and then have, rather than that X being able to close it, have like
You could have a button that
don't
closes
save
it.
and quit instead of that one.
Yeah, yeah. And then I guess the last thing we'll do here is go this dot pack. Okay. Down in the main method, we want to tell it to make a new comic book database. All right. And just so that we understand how that's working, I guess I should import all this crap. So I'm just going to do the shortcut for importing everything, because that's Command Shift O. And all those errors go away. Okay. So that's what this is going to look like for right now. There's nothing in the list, so we're not going to see anything over here. None of these buttons do anything, but we have it so that it's set up so that it's kind of ready to go. So hopefully that makes some sense to you guys. And I think what I'll do is I'll stop this one, and then either today or tomorrow we can come back and we can like make it actually do something. Okay.